What's going on, everybody? In this video, we're going to be building TAC specific arrows on the Modsaw PRO. Now, if you don't know what TAC or Total Archery Challenge is, it's a shoot that takes place on a very large plot of land, generally in the mountains or in the hills. You're essentially walking around with your buddies shooting long bombs in really tight windows. So it's an absolute blast. I highly recommend anyone going to that event. Now, some may ask, what's a TAC specific arrow build? This is going to be an arrow that's probably lighter than what you would prefer to hunt with. The reason for that is to give it a flatter trajectory and to overall be a little more forgiving at those really long distances. It's also going to give you more yardage in your sight. So the lighter the arrow, the more yardage you're going to get out of your sight. Again, we're going to be doing this on the Modsaw PRO, so you're going to see some of the key features we've added. The overall goal is to make very consistent arrows. Now, that should be the goal with anything in archery, but you're really going to see that consistency come into play when you're shooting past that 40, 50, 60 yard range, because those small misses may turn into missing the entire target at that distance. Let's get right into it. First off, let's go over the components I'm going to be using and the tools you will need. So we have the Modsaw, which is an arrow saw, squaring tool, spinner. So 3 of the 5 tools you need are done there. We also have our Bits & Burger fletching jig, all reliable. We have a scale. So those are the tools you will need to build the arrows. Outside of that, we're going to be using Victory Rival X arrows, extremely light. Super excited to try these out, some of the lightest on the market. AAE Airazr vanes, we're going to 4-fletch with these. And then we have Adams Precision Archery Mod Archery wraps. These are going to be on our website soon. We're super excited to show those. Then you're going to need your glues and primer pins. So we have our fletching glue, primer pin, and then we have our torch and hot glue over there. Let's start building arrows. Now, the first step of the arrow building process is to cut down the arrows. Before doing so, I highly recommend cutting off each end of the arrow. So I like to spin each bear shaft and note how much wobble I have in the back and front end. The reason for that is most arrow manufacturers measure their straightness based off the middle 28 inches of the arrow, meaning anything outside of that could be outside of that straightness range. So spin your shafts, mark them. I spun these beforehand and they spin absolutely fantastic. I was highly impressed. So we're gonna cut an even amount off the back end and the front end. Okay, I got the arrows cut down to length. Now, I did not realize these have knock bushings up top that are glued in, so I could not get them out. Wasn't able to cut off the back or square the back end. Not a huge fan of that, but overall they spun fantastic out of the package. So we're gonna move on to squaring the front end. Before squaring, take a silver Sharpie and paint the end of your arrow. This is going to ensure that you do not take too much off, especially on the Pro Saw with automated squaring, and just to make sure that it's squaring perfectly even. Now, if you're gonna be wrapping arrows, ensure to clean the outer shaft very well. They can come pretty dirty out of the package. We're gonna be using the arrow wipes by AAE. You can also use a paper towel and some acetone. Highly recommend using some sort of foam, cardboard surface that's going to give to really help adhere that wrap to your arrow. All right, next couple steps. First, we're going to clean the cut ends of the shaft. I like to use Q-tips and a little bit of acetone. Clean that out so the glue will adhere correctly. Once you have them cleaned out, we're gonna grab your inserts. We're not gonna glue them in yet. We're gonna screw in a fill tip or broadhead that you know is perfectly straight. And then we are going to insert it into the shaft. I call this dry fit tuning. You're going to quarter turn until it spins perfectly straight. This is just working with imperfections on the inserts or on the inside of the carbon. If it's not spinning straight, I would throw it back on the squaring jig, hit it a couple more times. It might not be perfectly square, but most of the time you'll be able to find where it spins best and then mark it with a silver Sharpie from the insert onto the shaft so you know that's exactly where you're gonna glue it. Okay, so as you see here, we got some wobble in that tip. So I'm gonna take it and start rotating in the shaft. It's got a little better. A little bit of wobble there. You gotta find where it's gonna tune best. Probably about right there. That looks to be pretty straight. Once you have all of your inserts marked and set on where they tune best, you're gonna need the supplies to glue them in. Now, personally, I like to use a torch, so I'm kind of hands-free. I also prefer to use hot melt. This gives me the ability to remove the insert. If for some reason it were to bend, which these are small and inside the shaft, so it shouldn't happen. But if I want to swap out, put some heavier weight in the front end, whatnot, it gives me the ability to do so. After that, I prefer to use some sort of pliers or channel locks, and then some sort of decommissioned broadhead or field tip. This is going to give me leverage. So I'll kind of screw in the insert a couple turns, heat it up here, put the hot melt on, and then insert it into the arrow. So this just helps maneuver it around a little better. Let's get right to it. Now we're going to move on to fletching the arrows using the Bits and Burger fletching jig. Like I said, we're going to be fletching these, but little fun fact, they included this little piece of paper that states do not use the primer pin on the Airazr vanes, as well as a few others. So we're not going to need to use this, like I said at the beginning of the video. So we're going to move on to fletching with the Airazr vanes. All right, we've got one arrow down, 11 to go overall. Looks really nice with these Mod Archery wraps. Looks really nice and consistent. 11 more. All right, I've got a 100-grain point here, verified on the scale. We're gonna throw this on and we're gonna get a final weight check. And then we will weigh each arrow to see our variance. All right, so let's kind of level it up there. All right, so we've got 429.8. Let's go ahead and get a check on all of these arrows to see what the variance is in between the highest and lowest. Now, I'm going to weigh these without a field point. So you would just have to add 100 grains for the sake of not having to put one on every arrow. So we got 330.7. Okay, so our heaviest arrow is coming in at 330.7. Our lightest arrow coming in at 330.1, couple those. So overall, we've got a 0.6 difference. If you take out that 0.7, it's a 0.5. So we are within half a grain on all these arrows. Without component sorting, I would say that is fantastic. All right, guys, here it is, our 2026 Total Archery Challenge arrow build. They're looking good. The Mod Archery wraps, these will be on our website. 0.5 grain variance is fantastic without component sorting, so I am more than happy with that. Overall, the Pro Saw did fantastic in keeping that consistency. But thanks, guys, for hanging around. Let us know down in the comments, what's your favorite arrow and componentry for Total Archery Challenge? I love to learn more, look more into different components, so let us know down there. Also, let us know what TACs you're going to. We're going to a few, so maybe we'll catch you there.